Yeah, okay. Sir. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is safe and sound this season. I welcome you all to this webinar hosted by Sashi Creative Institute of Design, Coimbatore. And today's webinar is the fifth one in the series called Design Interactions. And today's topic is Thinking Fingers and Speaking Materials, given by Professor Balaram Sir. And Balaram Sir is an educator and designer and is currently design director in Sashi Creative Institute of Design. I now welcome Balaram Sir to take over.
Thank you, Akshya, and welcome to everybody for patiently attending my webinars. This is the fifth in the series of webinars. This time we would like to kind of focus on one important thing, which is materials and the bodily experience of a designer and design students. I titled it as Thinking Fingers and Speaking Materials. We will start as usual with a story, a mullah story. Mullah once was made by mistake or otherwise a judge. And he got one interesting case to him. The case is like this. One very, very poor man was standing near a sweet meat shop. And the sweets are being made, and this poor man can't afford to buy the sweets, but he just sat there and he was enjoying the aroma and seeing the sweets being fried and all that. He was very happy. The shop owner saw him and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" So he said, "Sir, the smell is so good. See, the aroma is so good. The sweets are so nice. I can't afford to eat them, but I am enjoying the aroma and the fragrance of these sweets." Then the sweet seller is a kind of crooked man. He said, "I see you're enjoying it, so you have to pay for the enjoyment." He said, "Sir, how can I pay? I have not eaten." No, but you are enjoying, therefore for that experience you have to pay. I will take you to court. So he took to the court and Mullah was the judge. When the case was presented, Mullah looked at him and said, "Yeah, I think you have a point. So you have to charge this fellow." So the poor man said, Sir, how can I pay just for the smell and all that? But you have enjoyed it, no?" He said, "Yes, sir, I have enjoyed it. For the enjoyment, everybody has to pay. So what I will tell you is, you get how much he has to pay." So that fellow said, "Sir, 100 dinars. 100 dinars. That poor man said, "Sir, I don't have 100 dinars. So then Mullah said, no, you borrow from somebody 100 dinars in cash and in change. They should all be coins." So he said, "Okay, sir," he borrowed it. So then he was about to give, Mullah said, no, don't give it to him. Put it in his bag and actually in front of him make a sound of all these coins. So he made the sound. So he asked the proprietor, the shop owner, "Have you heard the sound?" "Yes, I heard, sir. There are all the 100 dinars. So yes, there are 100 dinars. He was about to stretch his hand to get the dinars. Mullah said, "You idiot, you can't take, you heard the sound, no? So that itself is the payment. You go now, and never do this kind of thing again." So he scolded him and sent him back. An experience is a tricky thing. You can't put a value on experience. So this is Mullah way of doing it. It tells us many, things about experience and materials. This topic I chose because many times whenever I attend a conference, international or national, young people, not only students, but even professionals, come to me with one question: why should we still go and touch the materials or keep on sandpapering and polishing or doing all that? Why should we do this. Now the computer can do it. Yeah, I just have to draw on paper and feed it to the computer, and then the 3D model will be made by the 3D printer or whatever it is. So with a push of button, I can do all of these things. Why are we in the dark ages still doing all these things? My answer for them was, it is almost similar to saying that, sir, now we have a calculator, why should we learn mathematics? But before that happens, I would like to show you a few things about some 4 great people who have commented. Let us see these quotes by them. One is by the well-known designers. Some of them are well-known. You may have already seen it, but let us see once more. This is eventually everything connects, said by Charles Sims. Then the soul of a tree, this is said by none other than George Nakashima. There is another one, the stone tells what it wants to become. It is said by our very Indian Ganapati Sthapati, a great iconographer. And my own teacher used to keep on telling, designers think with their fingers. I always felt design is not a white collar job, but design is a blue collar job, because I will explain all of them later why I think designers are blue collar workers and design is a blue collar profession. There is this slide, you remember, when afterwards I will talk about it, then you can recollect it. The connection between mind, body, heart. Mind, body, heart. And then this is a beautiful vase by my late friend as well as mentor, Bashir Patel. His vase, his flower vase. Lastly, I will show you this Kamandalam, which is used. It is the kind of Indian kind of libation cup. We will talk about it later. These images, you just keep it in your memory. The first one is, I will tell you the first quote if you remember. There is a story behind that. The story is that one young man won an international award on low-cost furniture. He was actually dropped out from school. He started studying architecture, but he could not complete the degree. So he dropped out. And then he entered into this competition, the low-cost chair. These were the days of post-World War, and there was no money, there were no materials. So he worked on it. He won the award, but then there was nobody to produce it. He didn't leave the idea. You see, designers have ideas, but ideas alone won't make the design. It has to be realized. In those days, plywood has just come into market, and this young man worked with plywood. He worked out a kind of a shape which is very beautiful. It has got a compound curve. Now, we all know compound curves are difficult, and in those days, plywood used to come in flat sheets. Then he didn't leave his dream. He and his wife worked on it to make, for 6 years they worked on it and come out with a technique, plywood molding. They constantly worked on it till they found out a technique to overcome this difficulty. They believed that there should be a compound curve. It can't be just a flat sheet, because the body has got a compound curve. If a chair is for people to sit, you can't have flat sheet. Then finally they got it, and now it is a well-known petal chair by none other than Charles and Ray Eames. These couple have, and has become an international classic. This is probably the costliest chair. It started as the low-cost furniture, but it ended up as the high-cost, high-value product. Well, that's a different story. Next one is Nakashima. Nakashima said, The Soul of a Tree. He wrote a book. He said, wood has a soul. And that is his philosophy. And he's not talking of very esoteric things and abstract things. He really meant it. In his life, he proved it in his furniture. Till today, his daughter is continuing his legacy. So he never uses nails because you can't put a nail on a living being. For him, wood is living being. So that's how he treated the wood. And if you see his furniture, you will know how he practiced it, how he really meant, how to respect wood, solid wood. The third one is Kumar Vyas, who said, you think with your fingers. Used to, when he taught us, he kept on telling us, you don't only design with your eyes and mind. You also design with the whole body. So that is something which we will explore further. I remember here Tata Shan, those who have read this book, Tata Shan book, the Tata Shan's teacher asked the students to come to school in dirty clothes. When I read first time, I was surprised. I said, why this man? Why this man asked people to come in dirty clothes while everywhere we were taught by teachers, clean clothes, clean body, clean everything, clean. We put so much emphasis on the cleanliness. Whereas this man says that come to the school in dirty clothes. Then it took me some time to understand why he did that. Because if you go with a white, clean shirt, you will not touch, you will be everywhere moving, touch me not. Nobody can touch you, no material can touch you. You are afraid to embrace the material. You are afraid because there is dust always. There is something else always. So the Tata Shan's teacher knew this, unless you embrace the material, you will not understand the material. Whether he is right or not, we will see it later. But this is, ideas are what I said afterwards, design is a blue collar profession. Ideas are not design. Like wheat flour is not bread. The wheat flour has to be kneaded and made to go through the whole process in order for that to be a bread which is enjoyable. Design is also like that. I tell my students that ideas are fine, ideas are good, ideas are necessary, but they're only beginning. They're not the design. Unless you make it in concrete realism, to make it with concrete materials and a defined process, it can't be called design. Like Charles Sims has done molding for his chair. And when Ganapati Stapati said, stone speaks to you, he's telling it poetically, but in a way it is physical, because when you put your chisel on a stone and with a hammer you try to chisel, the sound will tell you what kind of stone it is. And all stone carvers know it. If it is hollow stone, you will know by the sound. If it is tough stone, it's a granite, you will know by the sound. If it is marble, if it is a soapstone, if it is soft stone, just by the sound you will. And this is what Ganapati Stapati was telling. It will tell you what kind of image it wants to become, because this character is important to what kind of God, the character of the God you want to instill. There should be that kind of marriage. So let us talk about this body and material relationship. We all know about body language. Yeah, we are now, the world is much aware of it. Everything about your body will tell the way you put your head, the way you sit, the way you stand, the way you walk, the kind of gestures you use. They all will tell something about it, whether you like it or not. You wink and it means one thing. You stare at somebody, that means another thing. Your way of looking, whether you are looking through the corners of your eyes or you are looking through the straight, you are staring, or the way you look is, people are so sensitive that will give a message, and which is much stronger than what you see with words. That's all fine. Body language is fine. But what about body intelligence? This is what Mr. Kumar Vyas, when he said, you think with your fingers, was telling. There is a skin sensitivity. You will know by the touch, the warmth of the touch, the pressure of the touch. In fact, shake hand has actually come from there. To know the person, the first thing is shaking hand. The hands touch, and you will know something from that. I think that basically it is long believed that this touch is with the material. Another material, if you know another material, it is important. So it's always, there is this relationship between body, heart, and mind. Mind influences body. We all know it. When you are extremely fearful or nervous, you will sweat. You will, if you are very sad, tears automatically will come. When you see very good food, your mouth will automatically water. If you see a beautiful, sexy lady, the men will get erection. And all these things will happen automatically, whether you like it or not. So there is something which the mind is influencing the body. All doctors know now the placebo effect. The placebo is actually no medicine, but it's just a sugar-coated pill, but it will work. So how does it work? Because it is the mind which is conditioned, and that will have the influence on the body. It will cure in this, at this instance, this is a positive. It could be negative also. The body in turn will kind of influences the heart. Your hunger makes you angry. You have drunk, it will make your emotions will be different. Drugs, you will be differently, it will condition your heart. And the heart or feelings affect the mind. So it is a kind of it's a kind of circle. It's a kind of cycle which will, so feelings influence body, body influences heart, or feelings, and heart influences mind. When you are in love, which is very intensely feeling oriented, you will, the reason will stop. That is how this famous phrase has come, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. It's not so the real beauty is the beauty which you look at. If a man, it is also said, if a man loves a girl, he finds her beautiful. It's not the other way around, as people normally think. So here, this body-mind relationship, I would also like to say something. The West somehow believed that there is a duality between body and mind. I beg to differ. Their body is matter and mind is energy. And our good friend, the genius Einstein, long back said that E is equal to mc squared. So he found a relationship between the matter and energy. And so the body experience enhances the mental faculties or the knowledge, and appreciation which happens in the heart. Therefore, we have the phrase saying that an ounce of experience is equivalent to a ton of knowledge. So experiences actually is very important. We also have people quote Edgar Dale's cone of pyramid experience, how much you retain memory when you hear, when you see, when you read, how much you remember. Much, much, much before that, the Chinese civilization had said always, from my childhood I've been hearing it. It says that you hear, you forget. Edgar Dale says 10 to 20% retention. And you see, you remember. You hear, you forget, you see, you remember, you do, you understand. This phrase you all must have heard. This coincides with Edgar Dale, which found later on, much, much, much later, that if you read or hear, the retention, memory retention is only 10 to 20%. If you see, that is 30 to 50%. When you do, that is 70 to 90%. Now, design, coming back to design, what does it say to design? Design emphasis on doing and prioritizing, therefore. So design is a doing activity. There are three things I would like to say in this short talk. One is fingers think. I have experienced it myself. And even today, Ayurveda practitioners, Ayurveda doctors would do that. They don't use to diagnose you, they don't use any device at all. The doctors don't use no testing machine. You go to him with a fever, the Ayurveda doctor will just touch your head, feel your pulse, and ask you to show your tongue, see the texture of the tongue, and just pressing your body somewhere, he will tell you whether you've got jaundice, whether you've got malaria, whether you've got filaria, or whatever you have. So this has come from where? This diagnosis have come from where? From his own experience of other patients. And this, he goes by it and it works perfectly. I want to narrate another experience which I myself had. I worked very briefly in JK paper mills in Orissa. I was shift engineer, and I used to have my boss is engineer. He's a Punjabi man, but a brilliant man. We used to call him Dadiwala. We used to make fun of him. But Dadiwala is so good. We are having some 20 huge pumps. These are some 6 feet diameter pumps, huge pumps, because in a paper mill, water is very, very important commodity. So we used to pump, and my duty is to see that the pumps are working very well. And Dadiwala, probably he drinks and he hardly comes to the shift. So I was the shift engineer. But why I say he's brilliant? Because this man at home, he says, Balaram, as soon as you go, you just take the phone there. In those days, we don't have cell phones. We have normal phones. So he says, take the phone there and make me listen to it. So I used to do that. And this man is so good. There are 12 pumps. And by hearing the sound, this man will tell, Balaram, stop pump number 8. Because there is a problem there. And lo and behold, if we open the pump, certainly there is something. I could not make it. This great man could make it by just listening to the sound. And he is not a kind of, he doesn't have extra ET or extraterrestrial perception or something like that. He is an ordinary man, but his experience is so good. And when he comes to the shaft, he won't stay in the department for long. He will just go touch each pump set with his hand. And if he finds there is a difference in temperature of the body, because all pumps are heated up because they're working. He will tell the shift mechanic and myself, Balaram, stop this pump because its bearings have worn out. And if we open the pumps, really, we will find those bearings are worn out. How did he come to know without even opening? Just by the touch, by his experience, by the warmth which he feels, the difference he feels from that machine and the other machines, he would be able to tell. Is it not a knowledge? This is where I think, fingers do think. We don't have to go up to that. Every dyer would know that whether if you're a natural dyer, a vat is fermented or not by finger touch, make it finger touch, not with gloves. If you're, I know Padmini works with natural dye, so I have seen her doing it. She always takes off the gloves and then touches the what? Because you should know not only the temperature, but also the viscosity of the liquid or the dye which is there, and also the feel of it. In getting a color, it changes the whole color. Many of us have gone to buy textiles. Textiles, especially, cannot be known unless you touch. If somebody shows you textile, you won't buy it just by the color, just by seeing it. You have to touch it because there is something, the smoothness, the velvetiness, the silkiness, the visually on screen can't be known unless you really do it. Same thing with paper. Paper textures are lost on screen. This you have to touch. It can't be decided unless your body senses experience that. That is one thing. The second point I want to make is materials have their personalities. Every material has its own personality. See, concrete and steel are always cold and very impersonal. Wood has its some warmth and richness. It has. This we can only know by physical expression. Why I'm saying this coldness, from where this feeling of coldness has come to steel and the warmth has come to wood. That is, by years of experience, people have found this character. Same with rice paper, elephant dung paper, or bamboo. These have their own character, their own values of sustainability and richness. Materials also have their cultural and semiotic meanings. In the West, what they call libation cup. In Hinduism, we have a libation cup, which is called kamandalam, which you have seen that vessel, with the traditional vessel, the last slide I have shown you, with a spout, with a elongated spout. This is used only for archyam, which is the libation, pouring water for when you worship sun or when you worship, it's also abhishekam, it is used. This can't be, you can't do that with a jug. You can't do it with even another, this is in brass and the brass vessel is meant for it. Another material, another shape will not do. It's either brass or copper. And the other one, which I have not shown you because everybody's experience, is which Charles Sims very rightly celebrated in his 20-page report. 2 pages have been dedicated to it in praise of Lota. And he said that we asked him, the Indian government has asked Charles Sims what kind of design institute this great country should have. He said, you have your own great tradition, which is in form of Lota. So this institute should make the lotus of this country. He meant it very politically. And this Lota has a particular shape and it's meant for a particular function. And in these 2 pages, I never thought of it before Charles Eames opened my eyes. Charles Eames says gaga about not only its physical shape and color, but also its sound, the way water pours from it, the way it is carried on the hip of a woman, the way it is, carried, fits into your hand, and 100 things he talks about it. So the way this, he would know only by touching it. By just seeing it on screen, you will never get that feeling. The other one is the Gujaratis know it. Gujarati thali, I mentioned in my TED talk once. It's always in stainless steel. It can't be in plastic. It can't be in any other shape and any other material. In Bengal, they have this mishti doi. This always in clay vessel. It can't be in plastic cup. We all know in South India, Mangalasutram, which is very important in a marriage ceremony. This Mangalasutram is the most important product in the whole marriage, and it's very, very symbolic. And Mangalasutram, touching the Mangalasutram is a great, sacrilege. And this Mangalasutram is always in cotton. It can't be nylon, although nylon is stronger. It can't be silver or brass or gold. It can be only in cotton. So these things have come by experience, and they have to be carried because these are cultural semiotic meanings which are very strong, very stronger than even the physical strength and properties of materials. The other one I want to talk about is the process is equally important. Not only the material, the process which has undergone. That is, a paper which is mill-made has one kind of identity, one kind of message. And the handmade paper has another kind. They all have stories to tell. Hand-spun khadi, hand-spun, hand-woven khadi cloth has one kind of story. Even if it is very expensive, people will still buy it. The extreme example is, I stayed in Gujarat for some time, so I can talk about it. Patola, the double ikat dyed fabric from Patan, is well known all over the world. Why is it so expensive? They go up to from anywhere from 20,000 to 2 lakhs. Why this one saree will cost so much and people will still go and buy it? It's not even made of gold. That's because the process is so intricate. The fibers have to be dyed one by one, very, very well, calculated well. So it takes 6 months for the whole family to work on one saree. So, but once you know this process, which is so laborious, you would love this fabric. And you don't mind spending if you have that money. If you can afford that money, you will spend that money. But this one, all these things have vanished when the mass production have come and the impersonalization had happened. But another thing had come in its place. We talk about geographical indications. So basmati rice from Dehradun, or so-and-so fabric from Kalamkari from Kalahasti, and something from painting from Tanjore. So the geographical indications have come, even if they're made somewhere else, even if the painting is not made in Tanjore, but it still has that brand. So brand has come in because products need a story, and if we have the story, the product has much, much more value. And this has to be known. So the process which has undergone gives that value. The story is actually the process which that particular product has undergone. And therefore, its value This value is not always in terms of the material used, but it's also the process which has been, put to use. So, and then lastly, I want to tell the material culture is the indelible carrier of history. How will we know about history, what has gone? Because the animate human beings, their life is very short compared to inanimate materials. A stone lasts for ages. Therefore, the history it carries much longer than we carry. The oral traditions carry it, but once the people die, and they die very, quickly, in 100 years maximum, a man survives, and trees will survive much more. But a stone will survive for very, 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 very long time. Therefore, we have Paleolithic, Neolithic tools and cave paintings, and even clay, burnt clay will stay for a long time. That is how Mohenjo-daro, Harappa civilizations, the knowledge about them we come to know. The history has been passed on to us by these inanimate materials. So, to conclude, I would say that the best designer is the one who embraces the material, who understands the process which is undergone, and who understands the material and the process so that he can use that to the optimum limit, and he can experiment and he can explore. So they will yield, as Ganapati Stapati says, the best in them to him. Because after all, whether you're a product designer, graphic designer, or a filmmaker, doesn't matter. You will be using some process and some material. Ultimately, you have to express it materially to others. So therefore, you have to understand your materials physically and through your fingers and through your body, but not through just pressing a button or just looking at the screen. So with that, I will stop and we have some discussion on this.
Thank you so much, sir.
Any questions?
So I now ask the to type your, so I can read out that to Balaram sir.
Yes. If Padmini is listening there, I would like to tell her something about why she removes gloves when she works with a vat, or when she uses colors. Padmini, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, ma'am, I'm listening. Yeah, she has typed. Ma'am is listening, sir.
Okay, but she can't talk, is it?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Okay. So let us listen to the question. Can you read out the question?
No, she has just typed, I'm listening.
Oh, I see. Okay. But probably she has a problem in, she must be only on Facebook, so she won't be able to.
No, since we are webinar format, we can't ask question directly. So if they want to ask question, they will write
it and say. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let us listen to the question.
I think she wants you to answer the question. We were about to say something, sir. I think she's listening to that.
Okay.
There's a question from
Archia, will you
Prithviraj.
please? Yeah, if they
Yeah.
can't ask, you can read it for me.
Yes, sir. So there's a question from Prithviraj. So can you please comment about texture in sketching?
Yeah.
Or feeling in sketching? Same question.
Yes. Texture is normally very underplayed, but this is the most important. The texture is not visual. It's a kind of texture is something which you have to touch. The word textiles have come from texture because textiles are mainly textures. But we don't give enough. Texture is an unsung hero, although it's very, very a body experience. We haven't paid enough attention to it, but it's subliminal. But I think texture is the most important thing in a visual language. It is to give the feeling of touch through eyes. It is the indirect experience of touch. And it will evoke, you have touched it earlier, so that will evoke that feeling. By evoking it, by reflection, you will feel it. It's not the same as really touching it, but this is the indirect feeling of touch. The feeling of touch is the most important thing. Very, very sensual, if I may use that word. Touch is a very sensual. You will know sometimes somebody's touch, whether it is a good touch or bad touch, or whether it is somebody who is your friend or somebody who is very intimately known to you or not. By just the touch, by the warmth, by the texture, by the pressure, all that. But the texture is, in visual field, texture is the most compelling kind of element. One of the most important elements, but it's not played, given enough importance. And this will be lost on screen. This has to be, many great painters have kind of given it, played with textures.
So the same person has extended the question, sir. So can you please give examples of how a pencil artist can learn more about texture?
Textile artist.
Pencil.
Texture.
Texture, yeah. You see, there is no other way, but but first you experience the texture. Sculptors know it very well. And then you try to use various mediums through which you explore the texture till the eye gets exactly the same feeling as you're really touching. Yeah. There's no other way. You have to keep on exploring with brushes. Rough brushes will give rough texture. Yeah, the smooth brushes will give smooth texture. And the materials on which you work, the very rough handmade paper will give very harsh texture, and very smooth varnished paper will give very smooth texture. So it is a combination of materials which you select and the tools, whether it is a pencil or a brush or some other tool you select. If you are a sculptor, the kind of chisels you select and the material, the stone you select. Granite, for example, will give a very, very harsh and hard texture because the stone is like that. And it's also lost, it's very hard to work with. Whereas, therefore, the granite images, if you see, they're very rough. Their surfaces are very rough because that's its nature. It tells about that stuff. But if you go to North, Rajasthan and all that, where marble is plentifully available, the marble is a softer material. So it's very soft, very smooth material. So if you see the images, the temple images of North Rajasthan, they're all very smoothly finished. So this is the character of a material, and the tools used will have to suit that material.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, this is Padmini speaking.
Also on the panel.
Can I answer that question?
Yeah. Okay. Please go ahead.
Okay. What I have written, and I've mentioned it in question and answer thing, that you said why I remove my gloves while dyeing. When I'm using indigo wax, and when I remove my gloves, I can feel the quality of the indigo wax liquid. So that will tell me whether the wax is in good condition to dye the fabric right now or not. That is one. It will also tell me that if it is not in good condition, which material is less and which material I need to add and which material is in excess quantity. So how to kind of remove that excess quantity, and then I can maintain my VAT properly. It will also, while dyeing, give me the idea of how to it will also give me idea of how to kind of dye the fabric, so that inside the because I'll be able to feel the fabric, so I will be able to dye it evenly, and I'll be able to send the dye into the dyed portions in certain way. So it helps me by touching it. This
The
doesn't
question
happen
is,
so well when it is
the
glove based.
question is, Padmini, can a machine do it?
Machine won't be able to do
Designers
that
have to do
much.
it.
Machine
That is the
can do,
question.
okay, machine can take maximum the temperature of the dye vat. Machine cannot feel the machine can maybe take the pH or something like that, but machine cannot do some of these feeling of the touch kind of a thing.
So you think that designers have to touch the material? The point is that whether they should touch
See,
and
what
feel
I
the material or not.
see, in case of big industry, they cannot afford to touch the material because it is running very fast and dying. And if they try to put their hand in, their hand might be damaged or cut or something like that. But normally in handcraft, one can touch it, and then that's the reason you can make some unique pieces with that, which is not possible sometimes to do mass production in.
Yeah, this is important point, I think, because then it will stimulate your mind. When Kumar Vyas says that fingers think, then when you touch the material, it will stimulate your mind to think something. I can do this also now. So that is how normally craftsmen work, craftsmen designers work, and designers also should feel the material so that they can think differently. This will be limited if it is left to a robot to do it. Yeah. Next question.
Yes, sir. So the next question is from Suvarna. The materials used in mass manufacturing are different, and one doesn't get an opportunity to work with them. The prototypes are simulations. How do we bridge?
Yeah, we have to be first aware of it, and yeah, it is never the same unless we physically, manually touch it. There is no way to make sure. I was always disappointed when I don't see the paper myself and leave it to the what you see on the screen. It's never when it is printed, when the book is printed and come in your hands, it's not the same thing. So in mass production, as I said, this is the damage which mass production has done. Unless it is the first, in mass production, the first sample should be manually kind of decided then the machine probably can take over, because then it is only repetition of the same thing. But the entire thing can't be, done only with machine. It has to start with the man deciding on certain sample. Normally the sampling is done, that is why everywhere. And the sampling is done by human beings.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So the next question is from Mo. What differences in experience arise from tangible and intangible materials, processes and its outcomes?
Yeah, in my experience, designers deal with both kinds, and the tangible is very important to me. This is what you have to touch and feel. Intangible, you cannot express it unless you make it tangible. So the look is important, but the feel is, to me, is more important. And that will come only through touch, and a real touch. It can never be made virtual. Therefore, in design schools, I feel that the embracing the materials physically is very important. It can't be decided virtually.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
The next question is from Chiranjeevi. In the age of 3D printing, don't you think material exploration is lost its importance?
Yeah, material exploration has not lost its importance. It has shifted. I feel that 3D printing is there, and it is there to stay. And 3D printing is used by designers. But the first experience one has to do, and the 3D printing has its own limitations of what material it can print only in certain kind of materials. It can't print any material. Yeah, 3D printing has its own materials to deal with. It can't, for example, make wood. So every material has its own, its own charm. And 3D printing only gives the physicality of a thing, but it is only simulation. It's not the same. It's not the same. It's like, if you're making a building, or if you're making a, something in, say, gold, 3D printing can give you only in the material which it's capable of doing it, but it won't do it. So ultimate material, one has to be decided by the designer, and the 3D printing will help in making it three-dimensional, full stop, not beyond it. The touch and feel and other things associated with the material have not yet come by 3D printing. For example, the smell is not there, the touch is not there, the fragrance is not there, aroma is not there, the taste is not there. The many sense experiences are not there in 3D printing. Whereas we bodily, when we experience, all this will directly or indirectly come into play. When I'm going to buy a furniture in wood, I will touch it, and I will know whether it is, and I will smell it. Because if it is a rosewood, it will smell differently. It is a mango wood, it will smell differently. And it will also, the touch will be different. This I wonder whether the 3D printing can ever do. Yeah. So therefore we do, 3D printing is at the most, it's a kind of blueprint. It replaced two-dimensional blueprint into three-dimensional blueprint. But the blueprint is a blueprint. Have you heard of this term blueprint? In olden days, ammonia prints used to be made. It is just that it will give you that it is simulated model, but it never be the real has to be real. The brick and concrete has to be brick and concrete. So therefore, 3D printing is a marvelous tool, but it has its own limitations. You can't rely entirely on 3D printing. That is where it stops after giving you three-dimensional feeling.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is from Yash. So how material, design and sketch come together in an efficient design?
In what design? Sorry.
Efficient.
Yeah. Material, can you please read?
Material, design and sketch.
Yeah.
Come
Okay.
together in an efficient design.
Yes, see, the sketch is the very first our exploration of an idea. It is abstract. So the first thing is the abstract idea which is in your mind is put on paper as a concrete thing. It is a representation. It is not the real. The sketch is not the real thing. And it is towards the first step towards the real thing. The real thing is to make the sketch into, if it is a three-dimensional product, it should be three-dimensional. If it is a two-dimensional, in two-dimensional. If it is a film, something, another media, it has to be translated into that and ultimately realized in the final material. A sketch is an idea. A sketch is an abstract idea, very important thing. First time you are bringing out your thinking, which is only in your mind, nobody can see. You are taking it out, you are expressing it, externalizing it. So this externalization is important for you. It is like it is inside you, you yourself can't see, and after some time it might just evaporate. So the sketching is not for others to see, it is as much, but it is for you to see and take hold of your idea. Many times your sketch doesn't make any sense to others. It makes sense only to you because you know what is, it is just a trigger for you to know, oh, okay, this is what I thought. Nothing beyond it. So sketch is like that. A doodle and sketch, these are like that. But they have to be taken to the final stage in the final material. If it is a product design, it's to end up in the product and not also, that also not in simulated plaster of Paris model or some other model, cardboard model or something. But it has to be, if it has to be a metal bronze product, it has to be in bronze product. The prototype has to be in bronze product. It can't be in 3D printed or any other material. It's all simulation. It is not the same. So therefore, the sketch is actually the capturing the idea, bringing down the idea, which is very important because otherwise the ideas will vanish because they're abstract. They're in the mental space, which is very vast and it's very fleeting. So the moment you capture it and put it on paper, that is called sketching. And that is for you. Mainly the sketching is only for you. The client may never understand it. Client needs a different kind of thing. That is where 3D printing and isometric and perspective, and depending on the client's own educational level, so you will convince the client. Great architects like B.V. Doshi, etc., they make even a elaborate, very exciting kind of presentations. The idea is not only communicate to the client, but also win over the client. The client should give you a job. So you paint with largest brush, with largest colors, then you present it to the client to convince him. But the final realization has to be in real space and real time and real materials and real process. That is where the ingenuity of the designer or architect will come into. And the better you know the material and the process, the better you do your design. Laurie Baker always used to say, Laurie Baker never believed in making a model. So there is no question of 3D printing, or he has no printing knowledge. He believed only going to the site, talking to the masons, and there he will explain them, how to do the next step. He had only a doodle, which he does it with hand by himself. He had no office and all paraphernalia. And that is another way of doing it. He directly dealt with the materials. Yeah, that is one way of doing it. The sketching and all other things are for you. And Laurie Baker cut them through because he's kept it on his mind. He only has a sketch. And he will go to the site and instruct the masons. So there are many ways of realizing your sketch or your idea. Sketch is just a kind of concrete shape to your idea, so that it won't run away. The idea will not run away. That's it.
I wanted to add on Laurie Baker.
Yes.
If you remember, he has his doodles were so accurate that they were actually exact scale if measured. He made a plan for a house in a land that we had and
I remember that comes with the experience. The angle is, it's 33 degrees, it will be exactly 33 degrees, even if he doesn't use any protractor. So this is what experience. There is I mentioned an ounce of experience is worth a ton of knowledge. And Laurie Baker is a living example of that. This comes with experience. And some people can tell, they said that Salvador Dali used to draw with the free hand, he used to draw a circle, and it's a perfect circle, as if you have drawn with a compass. That comes with experience. This is the value of experience. Yeah. Charles Sims, when we were very young, we were kids at that time, working on exhibition, he used to realize if a rectangle is cut in those days, the photographs are cut by hand. There are not machines, and they have to be cut exactly right angles. And Charles Sims, he used to emphasize on detailing. Detailing is designing. That's what he used to say. So he used to realize with the naked eye, looking at a picture, even if it is a half a degree less or more. And he used to say, no, reject it because it's not right enough. So this kind of things will come only with experience, not seeing on the point today we are discussing is whether seeing on screen is enough, pressing a button is good enough, and the design can go in that way without ever touching the materials. That is the point. The screen, the 3D printing, and they are marvelous tools, and they should be used. But the human feeling, human touch is absolutely important, because as we discussed all this while, you don't think only with your mind or brain. Your whole body thinks. That's why I use the word body intelligence. Many people are talking about it. They accepted it. John Thakra and others. That there is the body intelligence all over your body. The thinking happens anywhere in the body. So the signals will go ultimately to the brain, but the thinking will happen all over. So it has got, everything has its own way of thinking. That will be missed if we use only your forefinger to press a button. because the rest of the body will vegetate. Use it or lose it. If you don't use the body, you will lose its capacities. My concern is that if we think everything could be replaced, it is just like the first example I gave, the calculator. If you rely only on calculator and we don't teach any more mathematics, imagine what kind of human being we create. This, in my opinion, we need calculator, but we need also mathematics, because only then I can control the calculator. I should know, I should be the master. Otherwise, the calculator will be the master and I will be the servant. I will be so much dependent on calculator. So this is where the danger lies. Whether the machine should tell us what we should do, or we should tell the machine what machine should do. This is up to us to decide.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
This next question is from Ramesh. So, what is the importance and impact of touch and feel in product design? What a designer should do to enhance this in his product from customer's standpoint?
Good question. It's, well, in one word, it's tremendously important. If you don't touch and feel the material, how can you give this experience to the customer? Unless you feel it first, you can't give this experience to the customer. So first you should feel this. We talk today a lot about empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is feeling exactly like the other person is feeling. Yeah, putting yourself in his or her shoes. And this is absolutely important. Design starts with empathy and ends with empathy. Because what you feel, it is like if you're cooking a dish, you will taste it and see how good it is. Because you are also a human being. And the other person whom you are going to serve is also a human being. So you will know. But without your tasting it, you can't give it to the other person because you don't know whether it is good or bad. So coming back to your question, if you're a product designer, or furniture designer, or industrial designer dealing with the physical materials, touching, and not only any designer, I feel that not only industrial designers, but touching the material and feeling is extremely important. And the final one, the finalities many times can't be expressed in drawing or in writing or in words. It has to be felt. That is why when, customers, when you go to a textile shop to buy a textile, you have to touch the material. When you go to a museum, although there are notices put up, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch, you feel like touching. This feeling is natural. It is human. Yeah. You without touching it, you feel not satisfied. So many good museums now, I have seen some good museums in Japan, they all put, please do touch. Only some things should not be touched because of they wear off or they may have some problems. But other things, they said, please do touch. Of course, there will be somebody you don't kind of toy with it, tear it up or break it. But it's basically you touch it and you will feel. Yeah, it's a different kind of feeling. Don't you think? You all must have experienced. If you don't touch it, you missed some experience. And the experience is not complete. So does that answer the question? It's absolutely important. How to do it is, there are many ways. Right from the beginning, we will ask, I ask my students to, when you go to the workshop, model making shop, etc., You don't wear very clean clothes, so then you will not touch. You will lift your hands and say, ask the model maker to do your model, and while you are watching it, it's not the same. Have you ever seen a potter making a pot without ever touching the material? Because the viscosity, that Dashrath Patel example I've seen, that kind of thin necked flower pot cannot be made unless you make the model in with hand. You know where exactly you should stop, where the limit is. Yeah. Depending on the viscosity of the material, the malleability of the material, and the resilience of the material, and many other things, the wetness of the material. And finally, it is the hand which will tell you. These things are not there, and there is no recipe book for it. It's only as the potter is turning, his hand will tell where to stop and where to let go. Yeah. So this can come only by thinking hand. So my advice to designers is that you have to embrace the material. You have to make your hands dirty. If you keep your hands away like a white collar, and you will never be able to know the material, understand the material. A child will not be happy seeing somebody else playing with the car. He has to run the car himself, the toy car. So there's no joy in it if somebody else eating and you don't get satisfaction. However good it is, you have to eat it yourself. You can't see it on screen virtually and eat it and get satisfied. You won't get satisfied. So my advice to designers is you have to embrace the material, you have to explore it. In fact, you have to tear it. I keep telling parents that you give them a toy and don't tell them don't touch it, don't use it. Then what the hell you bought it for? They have to touch it, they have to break it. Sometimes they break it because there's one way of knowing it. So we should create opportunities for one to explore, because exploring is also human. And that's how you know this is curiosity. So if you don't allow the child to explore it, say don't touch it, don't, you will break it, don't use it, then what is the use of that? And you might as well keep it in a museum or somewhere and put it in your under lock and key. It's of no use. Yeah. There is a joke. One inspector of schools went to a school, and the school headmaster was very, very happy to tell him, see that, sir, we have got this 100 books in our library shelf. So the inspector was very impressed. He said, okay, there are 100 books. They all look new. You said they were brought some 5 years ago. So the headmaster said, yes, sir, they are 5 years ago bought, but they still look new. So the headmaster very proudly tells this inspector, sir, they look new because if any student ever touches a single book, I will break their hand. So therefore, nobody ever dares to touch them. So now tell me, what is the point of having a book like that? So we are all behaving like, in fact, we will treat our children also like that. We make them not to touch and not to feel, but we say that this is for you. What is the use of a thing for you? If somebody tells this is for you, but you can't touch it, you can't use it, you can't tear it, you can't do anything with it, then don't give me that. The kids won't tell you, but they will feel it. Don't give me that. So in real life also, we are like children. We should keep that childhoodness in us all forever, because that's curiosity is the only way to know, is learning. Curiosity is that's how you learn. And that curiosity is not there if you think that you know it already and all that. but you will never grow and you will never learn. And so what we do with our children, which I warned you about, we are many times doing it to ourselves by not embracing the material, not touching the material, not feeling the material, not the more you touch it, the better it is. This is what Nakashima says, Ganapati Stapati says, Kumar Vyas says, and Charles says. They all said this same thing. You should be in love with the material, then you can, the heart of the material will open up for you. And you see then how you can, make, like Charles Sims made that petal chair, which has become all-time classic. That's what. If he has not felt in love with the material, plywood, you will never know what you can do. It will not reveal itself to you. This is what Ganapati Stapati was saying. The stone will not reveal herself to you unless you hold it, hug it, and always you treat it with you as a part of your body. Then at some point it will tell you what it wants to. Got it? I'm telling you. And that happens. I have seen it, I have experienced it myself in my design. It does happen. If you are with the material and with the process, the material will demand a certain process which it wants to undergo. And that is how innovations would come. Otherwise, we will be keep doing, a little bit more beautifying kind of things, which doesn't satisfy anybody. It won't really solve it. Okay.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is from Venkat. Do you think one needs to spend enough time with the material to develop sensitivity and be able to actually let the material express itself? And should design education be more material specific?
It's not a question, it's actually a statement which I 100% agree with. You have to stay with the material, you sleep, you eat, you live with the material. Then only it will, you will be able to make something beautiful out of it. That's it. Yeah, your statement is correct, Venkat. Yeah, that is how one should be. One should actually be all the time with the material so that you can make the best use of that. It is not just touch and go. It's not just infatuation. But you to be with the material. As I said, Charles Sims and Ray Eames have stayed with plywood for 6 long years. Before they've come up, they broke that, finally that barrier and come up with a molding, compound molding. So that can happen only, it won't happen if you are touch and go. In overnight, it won't happen. You should know everything about it, and many things are not even words cannot express. How can I express the experience of a touch in words? Words fail. How can I express the joy of listening to some good music? Words fail. So the words have very limited way of expressing. Some things cannot be expressed or transferred. You have to experience yourself. I can't give the experience. I eat ice cream and I can describe 100 pages, 10,000 words, but still I can't give the experience of the ice cream which I ate. You have to eat it yourself. The designers, when they translate, the more they stay with the material, the better they can give that that experience to. If they themselves are very little experienced with the material, first of all, they misuse the material in that case. And next, even if they succeed, they give very poor experience of that to their clients. Next. Have we exhausted?
Thank you, sir. Yeah, the next question. Yes, sir, we'll wind up in some time.
Yeah.
So the next question is from Nitya Prakash.
Yeah.
Native to leather. How
Yeah.
do we evaluate its quality at interpretive level and emotional level?
Of the experience.
Of the material.
Yeah.
Quality. How do we evaluate its quality?
It is difficult to evaluate it. In what criteria you will evaluate?
Interpretive level and emotional level.
Yeah. It's all the experience can only be done by emotional level. They can't be interpreted. Many times, you have to just feel it yourself emotionally. I can't. There is no measure. There is of course the degree, but the degree you have to experience it yourself. But I can't tell you it is 100% or 80%. Or I can't put it in abstract words or numbers. You have to you have to experience the others by the same material. If I'm using a material, if I feel it, since I am the human being, I'm also a human being and part of the client or the customer who is also going to be human being. So the nearest I can do is if I feel happy with it. This is exactly like the cooking. Your mother who is cooking will taste it first, and if she is happy with the taste, she will think all others also will be happy. So that is all, because they are also human beings. There will be small variations in each individual, but that we are not talking about. But the overall experience can be done by each one experiencing it. But there is no other way to evaluate it. Tell me if there is a good dish made by a person and a not so good dish made by a person. How do you evaluate it? You can't give marks or grades. You can say this is very good or this is very bad. It's very difficult to give it a kind of numerical or other kind of criteria. You can only say you also experience it and see. It's very personal. All the emotional, all the feelings are always very. They're difficult to articulate in terms of words or numbers or any other. It's very subjective, if I can use that word. You can't. These are subjective experiences, cannot be objectivized. Very simple. When a judge decides on a case which is convinced of one way or the other, how will he won't give a rating for his decision because it is subjective. When a human being is involved, subjective. We will use objective things of the mind to justify our actions. So there is something where logic stops. Feelings are not logical, as I said, but we first kind of try to justify it by objectivizing it, giving reasons for it. If a boy falls in love with a girl, then he will find reasons for falling in love later on to give to his father or mother or someone else. But it's not, he can't quantify it. Duty is also like that. You know this is beautiful and this is not beautiful, but you can't tell the degree of duty. but you can feel it. Yeah, you can feel it. Da Vinci's Mona Lisa is a great painting which is done some 500 years ago. What is great in it? How you rate it? You can't say, but you know it is a great art. There is a great beauty in it. So all the aesthetics and art and design, they're all feeling based, so they cannot be any. Only thing you can do is the measurable things are the concrete and the glass and the material used and all that. Otherwise, subjective things cannot be measured. There is no way to measure them. Feelings cannot be measured.
Thank you, sir. So, would you like to take a final question?
Yes, sure.
Yes, sir. So, this is from Kiran. So, he was a fashion designer who's
Yes.
getting transferred to the UX and UI designer. So, in the process, he realized that and he has asked the question. So, is it time to rethink about design system and policies which applies to tangible or intangible, where designers need to consider nature as one of the parliamentary elements before making any design?
Yes, it is high time for us to, all of us think, I agree with him, that to think about the criteria which we use in design, the whole design education and design school should think about it. The criteria which we are using earlier no more are valid. So we all have to constantly think about the new ways of transferring this knowledge and transferring this criteria. Yeah, that has to be worked out. It's very valid point.
Thank you, sir. I think we have come to the end of the webinar. Thank you so much for this time. I thank every participant and I especially thank Padmini ma'am for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all, and thank you, Akshaya.
Thank you, sir.